there's a way of thinking about the faith claim as bound to naivete, right? And so I concluded on faith, right? So there's a way in which I want to sort of disentangle faith from naivete at the end, right? But one of the things that I think is critical, which is the point that I want to emphasize in the book, is that there is something that they see about democratic life that the vast majority of us take for granted. That is to say that there are resources that we're relying on that they are now making explicit for us, right? And that it's crucial to track that, and that if we sort of track it clearly, we will see these folks as sort of deep and profound contributors to our discourse and understanding of democracy. In other words, this is part of our shared inheritance, right? Two of the driving ideas, which will be familiar to this audience, that is at work, is the idea of freedom and the idea of equality. And freedom here, for these thinkers, is not just simply about being free from the intrusions or interferences of government and the way we typically sometimes talk about this in our public discourse. This is about being free from domination. And what does domination mean? Well, you're dominated when you're at the arbitrary mercy of people that can exercise power over you. And these can be individuals who are actually quite benign. It doesn't matter that they're benign, right? They could deploy their power at any moment. That's what it means for it to be arbitrary. You never know when it's going to come. And to that extent, you're dominated. Ida B. Wells, for example, who I talk about in the book, just to give one example, she talks about the sort of unwritten laws of American life. Ida B. Wells is writing at the tail end of the 19th century, and she's discussing lynching. And she talks about, with a simple word, a black person could be lynched. What does she mean by that? Right? She means that there's something about the cultural logic of the United States in this period that potentially authorizes any person to use a single word to lynch a black person. That's what it means to be dominated. So black folks on the one hand are trying to sort of guard against that, which both includes, obviously you want laws on the books that could protect you, but you also want, right, communities, you want the members with whom you share society, right, to work in tandem to guard against domination. And then the other idea is equal regard or equality. And in some ways, the first, freedom, partly gets off the ground because of the second. It is precisely because I don't regard you as an equal that I feel empowered to dominate you. Right? And so these thinkers thought and believed that these two things must go together, with equality serving as the guiding light to sort of discipline and direct freedom to its proper destination. And that if it does that, it would sort of display itself, that was the hope, that it would display itself in not just simply laws and policies with respect to racial discrimination and inequality, but it would display itself in the ordinary, everyday interactions between black folks and their white counterparts.